We will be discussing how 4 different educational theories are embedded in 21st century curriculum and instruction.
The first learning theory that will prepare our students for the 21st century is constructivist learning theory. Constructivist learning theory will prepare our students for the 21st century world by making content relatable to their own lives, which will increase engagement and interest level. In addition, constructivist learning theory will prepare our students for the future by putting the learning in their own hands. Constructivist learning theory promotes meaning making and student centered learning. Constructivist learning theory is building upon students' previous knowledge and experiences in order to introduce new ideas. In constructivist learning theory, the teacher is seen as the facilitator while students are guiding their own learning through discussions, reflections, and real world application. There are 4 types of constructivism: radical, social, cultural, and critical. The 4 types show how different elements of society can affect development. Constructivist learning theory stemmed from Piaget's idea that learners come to school with prior knowledge. As the theory progressed, Dewey introduced more creative ways of learning, such as hands on, while Vygotsky highlighted socializing as an important role. Bruner's ideas stemmed from Piaget and Vygotsky, while Kelly and Glasersfeld both highlight the learner as the leader of their own academic journey. Constructivism and objectivism are opposites because constructivism focuses on the idea that learners can decide their own knowledge, whereas objectivism states that the knowledge is fixed. This is a real-world application of social studies where the students are doing role-playing through the Ellis Island simulation. This is real-world application of science while the students are doing experimentation and observation through the life cycle of a monarch butterfly. This is real-world application of literacy while students are collaboratively working in small groups. Some potential disadvantages are allowing students too much freedom, finding a way to assess students appropriately, and structuring the class so that objectives are understood. In order for constructivist learning theory to be successful, it is imperative that the teacher states learning objectives, is present and prompts the students, and assesses appropriately based on the activity. Constructivist learning theory will be successful in the 21st century because it will allow students to make the connection between what they are learning to what they are already bringing from their personal experiences, cultural backgrounds, and will also assist in developing social interactions.
The second learning theory that was embedded in the 21st century is the cooperative learning theory. Why will this theory prepare our students to be successful in the 21st century world? With the 21st century world challenging us, we have to be able to work together and collaborate with one another, and cooperative learning theory instills the necessary learning skills to help be sufficient in doing so. Cooperative learning is an instructional strategy that groups individuals together in smaller groups to help complete a project or assignment. Different types including formal, informal, and base groups. The history of cooperative learning stems from constructivism and the constructivist theory, as well as groupthink over isolation and social interdependence. Having influence from John Dewey's belief, Kurt Lewin introduced the group of dynamics, known as interdependence of faith and task interdependence. Studying under Lewin, Moore and Douche came up with positive and negative social interdependence based upon the group dynamics previously mentioned. Not shortly after, Johnson and Johnson thrived off social interdependence as well and developed the 5 elements of cooperative learning, which you can see in the right-hand corner provided. Cooperative learning and collaborative learning both involve the students engaging with one another, creating experiences as the teacher stands in the back and watch. Some current applications include Think, Pair, and Share, which involves students working together to share ideas, the Jigsaw Method, which is a group learning activity which breaks the assignment into pieces, and peer tutoring, helping one another to learn by teaching without any professional input. Below are links to 2 videos that show the Jigsaw Method and Think, Pair, Share inside of a classroom. When creating a cooperative learning classroom, the layout of your classroom is very important. The students must be facing one another or sitting around a table in order to work together. This layout will then help flow the instruction during cooperative learning activities. Like any other theory, there are criticisms that make teachers skeptical. In order to be successful and accomplish cooperative learning, teachers have to have the necessary skills, and you have to know how to use them so you will not run into those perceived misconceptions listed above. Cooperative learning theory is very beneficial and provides students with personal development and growth and learning skills that have shown success in the past and advocate for success throughout all areas within the 21st century and not just within education. For more information, here are our sources.
A third learning theory that is embedded in our 21st century curriculum is problem-based learning theory. And it's going to prepare our students for the 21st century world because it gives them opportunities to collaborate with others that we see and we have to do as adults all the time with authentic real-world problems that they will encounter. And then it gives them that chance of ownership and independence where the success of the group relies on them. Contrast to what we believe as traditional learning of memorizing information for a test, problem-based learning is a major paradigm shift where the teacher takes a step back and acts as facilitator, giving the students an authentic problem, and through a diverse group of learners ranging from ELL, special education students, gifted students, students of various backgrounds, they will collaboratively work together to come up with a solution. So briefly looking through time, Lev Vygotsky and John Dewey first brought up the importance of learning being a social process and being student-centered. Jane Addams then also added that it's important that we are inclusive in our learning. And finally, problem-based learning was first established by universities of medical schools as they used this theory to prepare their med students. As previously noted in my partner's speaker, problem-based learning is very similar to cooperative learning in that both are student-centered. We're giving engaging lessons that students care about, where it requires them to work together and have that form of ownership. In my classroom through STEMscope's science curriculum, as my students were learning about ecosystems, I provided them with an authentic problem of invasive Burmese pythons in the Everglades, and they were challenged to work together to create a solution. It can also be seen in math with our iReady curriculum. The first session of each new unit is called an explore session, where the students are given word problems and manipulatives to work together to produce multiple solutions and share their findings with their class. Some pushbacks you might get is that some of your veteran teachers might be reluctant to give up control of their classroom since the students take ownership, and it requires a strong behavior management plan. Planning may take a little bit on the beginning, but as they get into the groove, will become much easier. And finally, it does require some training, and you can get that through professional development. Some resources you can look at your own time is a video of what problem-based learning looks like with an actual school district that has implemented it successfully. And there is also some texts and a chance for professional development. So overall, problem-based learning will prepare our students for the 21st century world by giving them opportunities to work together with others to solve problems that they actually care about and will be engaged throughout the entire time with a diverse group of learners being successful.
Our fourth theory is social efficiency. Social efficiency is embedded in many of our educational practices. We should focus on what social efficiency concepts we should preserve and what we should change. Social efficiency in education calls for direct teaching of knowledge and skills in order to shape children into successful adults. Bobbitt, Tyler, and Gagne based their educational theories on Frederick Taylor's manufacturing efficiency studies by creating curriculum objectives upon studies of what successful adults should know. In this era, these social efficiency concepts inspired No Child Left Behind Act, Race to the Top program, and Common Core state standards. Follow these YouTube links to learn more about them. Here we have some similarities and differences to other theories. Mainly, social efficiency calls for the demands of adulthood to determine what is taught, while the other theories we heard about today call for the child's interests and needs to determine what is taught. Here we can see many current applications of social efficiency in education today, from standards-based curriculum to high-state tests, to the focus on end results and objectives, not so much the process, as well as tracking and ability grouping. Here we have the main criticisms about self-efficiency. Primarily, it is not child-centered. The objective-based curriculum drives education, not teachers. Therefore, as Sir Ken Robinson explains, our schools have lost innovation and creativity. But there is value in educational standards, accountability, and consistency, and scientific techniques that use data, observation, and experience that determine the most efficient standards and objectives that provide an education that prepares our youth to be productive citizens. Instead of demonizing social efficiency theories, let's create a culture of inquiry where we ask, why will standards help schools succeed? Who should determine these standards? What objectives best lead to attaining these standards? And how do we assess student accomplishment of standards without teaching to a test?